Imagine being lured into a trap by someone you trusted. That's what happened to 21-year-old Samantha Young, a young mother full of hope and dreams. But one night, those dreams turned into terror, a terror so dark it left scars no one could erase. Samantha, or Sammy as her friends called her, was a bright light in her small town of Wrightsville. She had a little daughter she loved more than anything. But on a quiet April evening, something went horribly wrong. Marcus Bordelon was someone Sammy thought she could trust, but that trust turned deadly. He invited her to his home, and once she was there, police say, he didn't let her leave. What happened next was beyond cruel. Sammy was held captive, and police say she suffered nearly 50 stab wounds, not just in one place, but all over her body, her neck, arms, chest, back, wounds so severe they pierced her heart, lungs, and liver. Her body was found locked away in a shed behind Marcus's house, hidden from the world. The man she trusted became her worst nightmare. And there's more. Marcus is not alone in this. Another young woman, Natasha Stover, is charged with being part of the horror. Police say she helped move Sammy's car and was involved in covering up what happened. Now, Marcus faces the death penalty, with the district attorney calling this crime one of the worst the town has ever seen. The charges are heavy: kidnapping, murder, and even abuse of a body after death. But this is not just a crime story. It's a story about a young life cut short, a family left broken, and a community trying to heal from a darkness that came too close. The night Sammy disappeared, no one could have guessed what was coming. Her family's worry turned into fear when she failed to return home. Sammy's little daughter waited, unaware of the growing darkness around her mother. Detective Carl Mason and his partner Lisa Crane led the investigation in Wrightsville. They moved fast, following every lead to find Sammy. It didn't take long before their attention turned to Marcus Bordelon, a man Sammy had trusted. Police found Sammy's body hidden away in a locked shed behind Marcus's house. The wounds she suffered were horrific. Nearly 50 stab wounds, wounds so deep and cruel they pierced her heart and lungs. The community of Wrightsville was stunned. The district attorney stepped forward, seeking the harshest punishment. Marcus faced charges that included kidnapping, murder, and abuse of a body after death. Another name came up: Natasha Stover, Marcus's girlfriend, charged with helping in the crime. Detective Mason says the investigation pushed them to their limits. This was not just a case, he said. It was a test of everything we knew about human cruelty. But for Sammy's family, the pain was more than words could say. People in Wrightsville knew Marcus Bordelon. He was 22, lived on Chestnut Street, and was no stranger to the neighborhood. But no one expected the darkness behind his smile. Marcus had been close to Sammy. She trusted him enough to go to his home that night. What she didn't know was that trust would turn into a nightmare. Marcus wasn't acting alone. Natasha Stover, his girlfriend, was pulled into the tragedy too. Just 19 years old, Natasha was known by some as quiet, a bit lost, but police say she helped Marcus in ways no one wanted to hear. They say Natasha moved Sammy's car from Marcus's place after the attack. There are even claims she helped cover up what happened, things whispered about in court papers and police reports. Sammy was more than just a name or a case. She was a young mother, a daughter, a friend. She had a 1-year-old baby who needed her. Friends remember Sammy as full of hope and laughter, someone who dreamed of a better life for her child. It's hard to imagine how someone like Marcus, someone Sammy thought she could trust, could cause such pain. The thought of Sammy, trapped and scared, with nowhere to turn, breaks the heart. It's a reminder that sometimes the people closest to us can become the most dangerous. The night the police opened the shed behind Marcus Borderland's house, the air grew heavy with a silence no one could shake. Detective Carl Mason still remembers the cold metal door as they pushed it open. Inside was a space no bigger than a small room, dark and cramped, a place where hope had no room to breathe. What they found inside stopped them in their tracks. Sammy Young's body lay there, silent, still, a heartbreaking sight that shook every officer to their core. She was so young, only 21 years old, a mother, a daughter, someone with dreams and a life ahead of her. But that life had been stolen in the most brutal way. Doctors later told the police that Sammy had suffered almost 50 wounds, not simple cuts, but deep, painful injuries all over her body. Her neck, arms, chest, back, places no one should ever be hurt. Some wounds went so deep they reached her heart and lungs. It was clear to everyone that she had fought, tried to survive, but the pain was too much. For the police, seeing her like that was more than just a case file. It was personal. Every detective there felt the weight of her story, a young woman taken from her child, from her family, from the life she deserved. The shed itself told a story of its own, locked tight, hidden away in a backyard most people never paid attention to. Neighbors had heard nothing, or maybe they didn't want to hear. But now the truth was out. The detectives thought of Sammy's baby, just a year old at the time, growing up without her mother's warm hugs. They thought of Sammy's family, waking up to a nightmare they never saw coming. Detective Lisa Crane said later, "There was no way to prepare for what we found. It wasn't just the wounds, it was the silence, the stillness. You felt the pain in that room." The investigation didn't stop there. Forensic experts carefully examined every inch of the scene. They found evidence that suggested Marcus had used a stun device, a tool meant to control, to hurt, to trap. There were signs of a struggle before Sammy's body was moved to the shed. Police believe Marcus's girlfriend, Natasha, helped move the car and try to hide what had happened. Every piece of evidence painted a picture darker than anyone in Wrightsville wanted to see. But this was the truth, and it was brutal. The town's heart broke a little more that day. For Sammy, for her child, for every person who believed in her. The courtroom became a battlefield. On one side stood Marcus Borderland, facing the weight of the world, charged with crimes so terrible they shook the very heart of Wrightsville. On the other stood the district attorney, Tom Kearney, determined to make sure justice was served. Kearney wasn't just any prosecutor. He was a man who saw Sammy's pain, her family's heartbreak, and vowed to fight with everything he had. The charges were clear and heavy: kidnapping, murder, abuse of a body, and conspiracy. The state was pushing hard, seeking the death penalty, arguing that this was a crime so brutal it demanded the strongest punishment. But Marcus's defense wasn't backing down. His attorney, Kevin Hoffman, was fierce and sharp, fighting every charge, challenging every piece of evidence. Hoffman argued for his client's rights, questioning the prosecution's case, and demanding that Marcus be treated fairly, no matter the accusations. Natasha Stover's case added another layer of fire. The young woman accused of helping cover up the crime faced her own fight, trying to prove where her involvement ended and where blame should begin. The courtroom was packed with tension. Families, friends, reporters, all waiting for answers. Every word spoken was heavy with meaning. Every glance carried the weight of years to come. For Sami's family, it was more than a trial. It was a battle for their daughter's memory, for their shattered hearts, for a future where no other family had to suffer like this. The fight went on for months. Hearings, motions, testimonies that opened wounds and demanded truth. For the community of Wrightsville, it was a painful reminder of how fragile safety really is and how strong the fight for justice must be. When the judge finally declared Marcus Bordelin's arraignment, with bail denied and a second attorney appointed for the penalty phase, it sent a message loud and clear: this case would not be forgotten. The fight for justice was far from over, but the fire burning in the hearts of those who loved Sami would never die. Sami's story is a harsh reminder. Trust is precious, life is fragile, and justice is a battle fought with courage, tears, and fierce hope. Her life was stolen, but her memory will never fade. And in the fight for justice, her voice still echoes louder than ever. Thank you for listening. Remember Sami, and remember why the fight for truth and justice matters.